let's dive into the spooky tale. Let's dive into the tale of the Manchac Swamp Voodoo Priestess. And before I start, I have to give shout-outs to the ladies of Morbid, a true crime podcast, because they covered this. I listened to it while mowing the lawn a couple weeks ago, and they did it in a much better way than I'm about to. Furthermore, they were the ones who inspired me to at least pass along this story to you guys. Either way, give them a listen. I adore their show, and I listen to it regularly. Anyways, let's get into this. The Manchac Swamp is a fairly large area that lies northwest of New Orleans. An area that most of us already associate with swampy, eerie wetlands. I always think of the fictitious town of Bontemps, where Sookie Stackhouse and Bill Compton reside. Manchac Swamp is not filled with vampire sex drama as far as I know, though. It's just the home to a lot of alligators and potential heat stroke victims if you're out there for too long. There's something else about Manchac Swamp that speaks to the stuff of legends, though. Near the abandoned logging towns of Ruddock, Frenier, and Napton, where the swamp truly begins, legend of a local voodoo queen named Julia Brown reigns supreme. And at the turn of the century, those three towns that I just listed, they're located at the edge of Lake Pontchartrain, and they were booming in the logging and farming industries, particularly for their abundance of cypress trees and cabbages. The adjacent railroad kept supply chains going to and from all three of these towns that weren't really very well developed. They didn't have working electricity, and this is like 1910. They didn't have paved roads. The town still did surprisingly well. The town also did not have a doctor, so they mostly relied upon Julia's skills to help them out with simple ailments. She was more or less the local healer. Everyone sort of treated her like a crazy witch, however, so naturally it is very possible that she started to feel taken for granted. Julia used to sit outside on her porch on the edge of the Manchac Swamp and strum her guitar, and she used to sing this creepy little tune that had the words in it, "One day I'm gonna die and take the whole town with me." And she'd just sing this all the time. People would just pass by, and she's strumming on her guitar, and she's, "One day I'm gonna die and take the whole town with me." That's some shit right there. Locals of the area believe that she put a curse on all of those towns in the area because she felt taken advantage of. And the day that Julia Brown died, which was September 29th, 1915, a massive hurricane swept into the town and leveled all three of them. Like, huge hurricane. The surge of the storm reached 13 feet, with winds howling at roughly 125 miles an hour. The railroad depot where a lot of people from the town sought refuge collapsed and killed over 24 people. By the time everything had cleared from the storm, over 300 people had died. Essentially, all three of those towns and their industries, they were just done for. A story from the local newspaper that dates back to 1915 that I have edited heavily because it had some language states the following. Many pranks were played by wind and tide. People had gathered for miles around to attend the funeral of Aunt Julia Brown, an old woman who was well known in that section and was a big property owner. The funeral was scheduled, and Aunt Julia had been placed in her casket, and the casket in turn had been placed in a customary wooden box and sealed. At 4 o'clock, however, the storm had become so violent that everyone left the house in a stampede, abandoning the corpse. The corpse was found Thursday, and so was the wooden box, but the casket that was inside of it has never been found. Now, current local voodoo practitioners have chimed in on this legend, stating that they don't actually think that Julia's song was a curse, but more so like a premonition or a warning of what was to come. She spent all of her time helping the town and healing people, so she might have felt some ire for the way she was treated, but it's more than likely that she was just wanting to help everybody, you know? But still, it remains that most people see the Manchac Swamp as an eerie place to visit, and tourists and locals alike will still swear up and down that you can hear the echoes of Julia's guitar on the edge of that swamp. And some have even said that you can still hear the echoes of her eerie song, "One Day I'm Gonna Die and Take the Whole Town With Me." It's fucking crazy, right? That's a crazy, crazy story.
Thank you for tuning into Garbage of the Internet. Until next time.